Hey everybody, this is Aloha Eddie and Koastline Kevin, and today we're going to talk about acronyms. During my time in the Coast Guard, I came across acronyms that meant three different things depending on what type of unit you were stationed at. So sometimes keeping up with the acronyms in your service is hard to stay on top of, but then acronyms from one service to the next mean completely different things. And then, oh, by the way, when you're transitioning and separating from the military, the civilians gone and went and made their own acronyms for a bunch of stuff. And guess what? Some of those acronyms are the same acronyms as when you're in the military. I just got to look this up. One of the first ones I was in one of my first group meetings in my first civilian role post retirement, and they said the nav. And I was like, why are we talking about navigation? This makes zero sense. This is recruitment. And actually, it meant net asset value. So it's experiences like that have led Aloha Eddie and me to share some acronyms. I think this is going to be a short episode. I think we're going to try to have a little bit of fun with it.
So the first one in my first civilian job that got me, I was lost, man. I had no idea what everybody was saying, but I kept getting all these calendar invites, right? Like Kevin, oh. Brenda, oh. But anyways, I'm talking to her and I'm like, hey, what are all these calendar invites with the ooh on it? And she was like, what? I'm like, where Kevin sent a calendar invite and it said Kevin, ooh. She's like, you mean oh? I'm like, yeah, what is that? She's like, out of office. I'm like, light bulb clicked on. One that's the same in the military and outside of the military is CYA.
Cover your ass.
Or cover your area if you wanted to be politically correct. But yeah, I like cover your ass.
Here's a hazardous one. Hey, can you get this to me by EOD? Why the hell you need an explosives ordinance disposal person to deliver this to you? What are you handing me?
No, thank you. Pass.
That would be more for in office. Virtually it doesn't really, that's really
no. Well, and also in the civilian terms, end of day. Now I could be like, your end of day or my end of day. That's a 6-hour time gap, bro.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to be clear on that too. Like you got to be like, my end of day or your end of day.
PPC.
That's just kind of weird. That sounds like some urinalysis type stuff. PPC.
The Coast Guard Pay and Personnel Center.
Oh, all right.
So like our handle our pay and travel stuff and admin stuff, and then pay per click in the recruiting world, right?
Yeah, that's
a job
stuff. Yeah,
on a job board or something like that. Yeah. In my first role, I worked for a global company and frequently interacted with people in the UK, and they kept talking about their diary, and I'm like, do I need to keep a diary to work at this place? Like, why do they keep saying diary, man? That's just what they call a calendar in the UK. Let me check my diary. Oh, geez, this person's really in touch with their feelings. Nothing against it. DR.
Doctor. Not a doctor.
Not a doctor. Debit. I don't know how that means debit. That's debit in business talk. Like accounting, I guess. But in navigation, that's dead reckoning. Or disaster relief. Or disaster response. So I really felt old because...
When you woke up.
And maybe it's not an old... Well, yes. But maybe it's not an old thing. Maybe it's pretty commonplace in corporate America. But I also had people they'd ask me a question. I'd be like, oh, I'm not sure. And they'd be like, LMK. And the first time I got that, I sat there staring like, oh, did they fall asleep on their keyboard? What are we getting at here?
Let me know.
Yeah,
there's all kinds of those. I remember, I had a window open, a internet browser window open, and I would just type them in the old search bar. Had to ask Jeeves quite a few different times what these acronyms meant from these school kids nowadays. And I had to ask Jeeves because I'm old, and I remember Ask Jeeves came around
Is it-
before Google. So
Isn't Jeeves retired?
no, he's so old they moved him to .net. He's not even on .com anymore. It's AskJeeves.net.
I was on a monthly business call and they kept talking about mom, and I'm like, what does whoever's mom have to do with this? Month over month.
Mm-hmm.
Month over month.
This has to do with us in recruiting, but also those life-saving people out there. ABC, man. ABC.
Airway, breathing,
Yeah.
cardio, response.
No, circulation.
Circulation.
Close. Yeah, circulation. Always be closing, baby. In the world of sales, man. Come on, you know that. You've watched enough Office to know Michael Scott talking.
ABC.
I just watched that episode last night.
Did you? Help.
Okay.
Heat, escape, lessening, position.
What are you talking about?
This episode is going to save lives now. So if you end up in the water removes heat from the body. Just numbers again, I'm going to forget. 30% quicker than air, I think. 60%. Man, I'm failing. If I had to take a test right now, measuring my Coast Guard knowledge, I'd be failing miserably. But again,
you retired like 3 years ago, bro. So
yeah. Anyways, but I remember what to do. So if you're in the water by yourself, you got to get in the fetal position. You got to bring your knees up to your chest and hold yourself, and that keeps all your body heat near the core organ to help prevent or push off the onset of hypothermia. If you're in a group, I got a funny story about this too. So if you're in a group,
of course you do. Spoon.
You guys, you with the boat crew, arms around shoulders, you form a circle, and each person takes a turn in the middle of the circle. And the idea is that it warms up inside the circle.
Thanks for hanging out with us, listening to us ramble on about some random acronyms. I think the biggest lesson that anybody can get is, especially after transitioning from the military, no matter what field you're going into, man, ask the internet, find out what some acronyms are in that corporate world, in that industry, right? Because even externally, like in the civilian sector, between industries, there's all kinds of different things, right? Learn some terminology so that way you're not as confused as Kevin and I were when we first showed up at our first roles coming out of the military. And again, don't be afraid to ask. If you don't understand what something means and somebody keeps talking about their mom, ask them what that means. But why are we talking about your mom? No, that's month over month. But, ask the questions.
Things to do to kind of help prepare for your transition and getting into that first role. And I'm pretty sure, at least I hope, we mentioned doing informational interviews, right? Reaching out to people, networking, talking to people in the industry you want to go into, and asking them questions about their day-to-day. Might not be a bad idea, but like, hey, man, what are some acronyms that are commonly used in the industry? So if I'm on an interview and somebody says, well, tell me about some of the KPIs that you had in some of your previous roles.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, KP what?
KP what? Key performance indicators.
There you go.
All right. That's us. Sign off. Aloha.